Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast, episode 6. We are up to
Wow.
6 episodes. 6 weeks we've been doing this for.
6 of the best. As well, actually, I don't want to take this away from people early days, but if you're with us now, we appreciate the loyalty, because if we're being honest with ourselves, they're probably 6 of the worst. Because if we... you hope so.
You'd hope.
I could see the look on Josh's face, which is, why say that? But...
Really? Could you imagine if McDonald's had brought out a new burger and went, yeah, you know what, it's all right.
We'll get better. I mean
it's our first shot at it.
If you want to buy this burger, go for it. But
If you want to have a crack at it.
it's not the best one I'm going to make. Yeah.
We are 6 episodes in, and we spoke, I believe, last episode, I reckon, about our personal lives playing a huge role in my radio show and our podcast here.
Sure.
And one thing that my partner and I had a chat about the other day, Eden, she rearranged our bedroom.
Ooh, okay.
Does your partner do that? Does Amy do that?
Yeah.
Every 6 months or so, they feel the need to rearrange every room in the house. Like, we have literally, in the last 3 weeks, we've rearranged the lounge room, we've rearranged our bedroom, and we've rearranged our daughter's bedroom. We've changed the position of her bed in her bedroom.
We moved the rug in the lounge room last night. And that was not on my suggestion. But to be honest, Ames is much better than that. I think it's hard for me to answer that question because it's so above my pay grade.
Yeah.
That like last night, for example, Ames wanted to move the rug, and she had a good reason to want to move the rug. I'm not even going to question the reasons. I'm just a foot soldier there, just going, tell me when to lift the couch. So
Just
you can...
follow orders.
Yeah, like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So with the bedroom, it would be exactly the same. It's like, oh, does the bedside table go there? Yeah, great. And it's not because Amy's controlling. It's just because she's passionate about that. I couldn't care less. So are you the same, or are you as passionate as Eden?
Oh, I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah. Who cares where the table goes?
I couldn't care where I sleep as long as the bed is in the room. I do not care.
Yeah, it doesn't
Now,
really matter which way.
No, and you know what? We've got our rooms in our house are so small. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where the furniture goes. The room is still going to be small. We're still going to not have a lot of room.
Yeah.
With our bedroom, our bed was kind of up against one wall,
Right.
and then we moved it to be up against another wall.
Right.
And in that movement, my position had changed. I was when it was up against the first wall, I was closest to the door.
Yep.
And we moved it onto the other wall, and the side that I would have been on, if you were looking at the bed, it would have been the left-hand side. The side that I would usually sleep on, I was now furthest from the door. Eden was closer to the door, and she said to me after... She did all this while I was at work, by the way. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, we've got to swap sides now." And I said, "Excuse, what do you mean?" She's like, "We've got to swap sides now." I said, "Why?" And she said, "Men to the door." I said,
Men
"What is
to the
men?"
door?
She said, "What is men to the door?"
That's the way my parents raised me. Men to the
Exactly.
door.
It is a chivalrous thing to be men to the door. And I said, "What is men to the door? Explain to me men to the door." And she said, "Men to the door is the men has to be closest to the door so that in case an intruder comes into our bedroom, you are there to protect me." So now I am now men to the door again in our bedroom.
to the door. I'd love to get Eden's thoughts on, I guess, what does a lesbian couple do? Does the most masculine one, or do you flip a coin? You know what I mean? It's like...
The one who's got the most tattoos.
Yeah. You know, you're at the door.
Yeah.
Men to the door. Do you know what? I'm just thinking about it. We are... Like, I am at the door side, but
You are men to the door?
But I thought that was just random, but maybe I'm realising that, yeah, she's planned that out. Because...
Wait, who chose when you and Amy like first got together, and think about the rooms that you've slept in together since you've been together.
Yeah.
Have you always been men to the door, or have you been on, men away from the door?
Well, I tell you what's interesting. I reckon when we first got together, I was living in that place by myself, so I guess I already had it. And there wasn't a door, actually, because you walked in from the other end.
You came in through the window.
Yeah. You had to paratroop in. No, like, it's hard to explain, but there wasn't, like, a man to the door side of the bed. But, like,
Right.
Bundy we just lived in Bundaberg in Queensland for a year. I was on, if you're looking at the bed, the right-hand side of the bed.
Yes.
And that was men to the door. And now that we've moved back to Victoria, I thought it was my idea to switch sides because I don't know why. Oh, because we didn't have room for 2 bedside tables. So I was like, well, you might as well have one on your side.
Oh, yeah. Chivalrous.
But it does just happen to be that I'm now still men to the door.
Maybe it is maybe for you, and I'm sure many men, it is a subconscious thing. Not me. I wanted to stay on my left-hand side.
Right.
She was the one who had to tell me, no, men to the door, get on the other
I
side.
love the phrase. Men to the door.
Men to the door. But maybe for you, it is just a subconscious thing of like, oh, I'll go closest to the door and protect what I love if anyone does come into our room.
I'd love to say yes, but to be honest, I remember me making a joke about not really being a man and one of my cousins going, you are a man. And I go like, yeah, I don't think of myself as a men to the door man. I don't know. If someone broke in, I might just say take her. If you're gonna leave me alone, fine.
If you promise, don't hurt me.
Don't
you
hurt
can
me.
Take her.
Yeah.
That's what Eden. We had a conversation straight afterwards. I was like, why do I have to move sides? And she said, well, men to the door. And I said, Eden, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I don't carry, which is in America where I sleep with a shotgun under my pillow. What do you think's going to happen?
Here, picture this. Someone breaks in with a knife. We hear them rustling around in the next room.
Right.
She rolls over, wakes me up, nudges me, goes, Josh, there's someone in the house. Yeah. There's someone in the house. I go, Eden, what are you talking about? She
Go
goes,
back to sleep.
Listen. Yeah. Listen, Eden. Listen, there's someone in the house. You hear rustling in the next room. All of a sudden I sit up and I see a dark figure in the hallway.
Right.
And I can see the shimmer of a blade. I go, well, I'm dead.
You go, well, I have been playing a fair bit of Assassin's Creed, so I could probably take this guy out from behind if I wanted.
Is that Enzo? Well,
I'll do that. I'll whistle and then he'll come towards me and then I'll get him
exactly.
in the bush.
Where's the hay bale? I'll dive into it.
Yeah, I think it's like Eden hasn't realised the sort of man that would be going to the door, I guess.
Yeah.
You're not just back from Iraq.
Yes. I don't think she understands the man that she's with. I'm not a man to the door man. No. I'm a man out the window man.
If I was in like medieval times, I'd be the man sending the other men to the door. Going, guards, get to that door.
Yes, I would see myself as a man, hopefully rich enough to be able to afford a man to go and, do my bidding for me.
Yeah, very, very rarely in those movies is the guy with glasses the one that is the security guard. It's not going to happen.
No, because if he gets knocked in the head and glasses go off, he's absolutely useless straight away.
It's day one of man to the door training is if you've got glasses, you got to have contacts.
Exactly.
That's
you got to have contacts. Yeah. Or learn to fight blind like Daredevil.
Just throw enough punches out there that you'll be okay.
just like a blender of just like
the food processor method as they call it.
Yeah, exactly. So I did discuss with her after she moved. I said, do we really have to change sides? And anyway, I gave in. I thought, look, she's gone to all the work to move the bed.
Right.
I will just give in and I will be man to the door. And you know what? It's been fine. No intruders so far.
Well, thank God that they haven't, though.
Thank God. And you know what? There wasn't any intruders beforehand.
Exactly. I didn't want to say it.
So I don't know how much of an effort, how much change that's really made moving the bed around. But, she seems to think there's more room in the bedroom. I don't think there's any more room in the bedroom, but,
And it also depends where you live. Like, I don't know. Like, we've been robbed and stuff in the night before, but, like...
Have you really?
Yeah.
Were you home were you home when that happened?
The worst. Normally, it's been like when I'm a kid and like they've gone into Dad's shed during the night and stuff. But I think there was once where they might have snuck into the kitchen and stolen like the home video camera. People would remember from like the 90s and 2000s. Everyone had those.
Like the JVC type chunky thing?
Yeah. I think that might have happened once. But like generally, I can't think of anyone who's like had someone... Like they wake up in bed and someone's in their bedroom.
That would be terrifying.
But there was a guy that I know from radio, and he's up in Townsville, I think, and he was sitting in his lounge room in the middle of the day, and a guy just walked into the lounge room, like didn't realize he was home and was going to like rob the place. So it's like that's a men to the door situation, but I don't know. It's like that is like Townsville has a lot more crime than a lot of other towns, so you know.
I don't know. Have you been to Shepparton?
You guys got a bit going on.
We've got a bit happening here at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
I reckon 70% of the electric scooter sales in the country are
I've got this
from
lovely
people here in
orange scooter
Shepparton.
for you. Where'd you get it?
yeah, exactly. From people here in where I live, and bum bags as well. I believe are a hot topic, a hot item of clothing here. 20 as well with all the Eshays bags.
Yeah, they really went through the rest of the world 20 years ago, but they've just made it to Shepparton now.
Did I tell you about? Have I spoken about my run-in with an Eshay?
No, and for people who don't know, of which I sort of include myself, can we get a quick description of an Eshay?
Eshay is, I reckon, it's most commonly where I'm from, what I've seen, what I've experienced. Most commonly, a man.
Right.
A boy
Yep.
between the ages of 12 and 16.
Oh, okay.
They wear kind of track pants, Adidas joggers or, Puma joggers. They have a bum bag over their shoulder.
Right.
They kind of look like they've just come from the gym, but they're twig thin.
Right.
That they're not lifting any weights. They have a hat backwards.
Yep.
Usually some cocky ass sunglasses, and they talk. They're really up in your face, bar, and really
Sort of like a drug dealer from like a 2000s movie.
Exactly, a drug dealer, but a drug dealer that's done nothing more strong than like Panadol or something. They really have no life experience.
Yeah. Okay,
they have no life experience at all. So anyway, I was walking out of the supermarket here, and I was scrolling on my, checking a message on my phone. As I was walking out of the supermarket, and I almost walk into the, my fault. I should have been looking where I was going, but I almost walk into this Eshay, and he and I'm like, oh, sorry mate, and keep walking, and he goes, Ab, watch where you're going, mate, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sorry, buddy, and walk up to the lights across the road, and he goes, watch for cars, buddy, and I'm like,
he's giving more advice.
he's giving more advice, and he's like my seeing eye dog, is what he is.
Just a bogan seeing eye dog.
Anyway, I'm crossing the road, and I cross the road over the other side of the road. Mind you, maybe 50 meters away, maybe 60 meters away. Like, I've left that interaction. Yeah. He's obviously holding on to it.
There's a train coming, mate. Watch out.
There's a Qantas flight over you, mate.
I'm tracking.
Anyway, I'm walking up to my car, and I'm not parked that far away. Anyway, I open my car, and from an echo from down the street, he goes, "Watch your step getting into your car, mate."
What?
And at this point, I'm laughing because I'm like, this guy's comedy gold. I mean, he's got no job, but he's comedy gold.
No, he should get down to the clubs. I mean, it's like, it's almost like, it's not even really a heckle, is it? Like, you don't know what to do with it.
No, it's like it's quite thoughtful, really.
He's quite a sweet young man, really.
Really a sweet, lovely guy. I don't know what he's doing. His name's probably Jaden or Damon.
Yeah, you're big time. Yeah.
And it's not Bartholomew, definitely not.
No
but
way.
Anyway.
Amazing. Yeah. That is not where you would have... When you said I had a run-in with an Eshay, I thought it was going to be like he pulled a knife on me or something.
No,
it was just a sweet young guy just making sure you knew of the different modes of transport that you could encounter in your day.
Yes, that's right. I looked down at my phone. Once to reply to a text message, almost ran into him, and then he thought, I will dedicate my life to serving you.
Like those characters in movies, it's like, I now will serve you until I save your life
Dobby.
again.
It's like Dobby.
Yeah. You'll get attacked by an actual Eshay one day, and this guy will show up and just like take the knife in his gut for you. Like he'll dive across.
Oh, he'll be like my secret service.
Yeah. He'll dobby it for you. He'll take a knife to the guts and just go,
exactly.
I've got you.
Exactly. But I've got to release him from his service, I've got to buy him a vape. That's all I've got to do.
You have freed
You are free, my
Jaden.
child.
Jaden is a free Eshe.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh,
if I haven't run into him since. Gosh, I hope I do run into him because that's really my only run in with an Eshe. Like I've seen them around, but really my only interaction with one, and quite a pleasant one. Really, quite a funny one.
Yeah, that is that's the dream sort of situation. Those ones where like I had it the other day. Ames and I were walking down the street, like sort of just off the main street in Ballarat, so quite a lot of people around. And it was like a Thursday arvo, like 4:00. But I reckon, looking back, they were like a Bucks party that has just started early, right? Because they're at an ATM already in 2024,
Okay.
and you're like, okay,
Yep.
I think I know where this is going. Group
Yep.
of like 5 or 6 blokes, in their 20s, 30s, whatever. And as I walk past, the guy, you know when they make eye contact with you for longer than would make sense.
Yes.
It's not like just like, oh, there's a human. It's just like he's staring at me, and then as I walk past, he goes, "Nice jumper, mate." And you're like, on paper,
You can have it. You can have it.
I start ripping it off.
Yeah. Have it.
And on paper, you're like, it's totally fine. But the feeling was not threatening at all. But it was more just like he's trying to interact beyond a normal level with me.
Yes.
Do you know what? Only just because it literally happened in the place I was walking past, and you've just said you can have the jumper. A guy, I was on a night out at this pub, and it's one of those pubs where like people would know it. So they have sort of like a nightclub out the back, but like it's not a proper. It's like a dance floor sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they run it separately. And I was in the pub area with my mate, and this guy comes up to me and he goes, "How much for your shirt?" And I was like, "What?"
That's bizarre.
And he said, "I
not
will
Tarot
pay
cash, mate."
you for your shirt because you needed a collared shirt." It's one of those stupid nightclub rules. You need a collared shirt to get in there. He obviously wants to
Right.
get in. I happen to have a collared shirt. But it was like a collared shirt that I really liked.
Yeah.
And he kept going, and he kept raising the price. We got to like, it was either $50 or $100, like just an insane amount of money for like a
Wow.
shirt. I know, but I just really liked the shirt, and I just remember him and he was like so drunk, and I just remember him at one point going, "What? Why is it so important to you? Like, how much for your shirt?" Like he couldn't
Why is
understand.
it so important to you?
Like, what's it worth to you? Like, it was just like clearly
Yeah.
his boys were already in there, and he
Yeah.
couldn't get in. He couldn't be bothered
Yeah.
going home.
He was desperate at this point.
It's just like, do you want me to just give you $1,000? Like, he's almost at the point he was at. Like,
Oh,
I
that would've
need to
been
get
great.
in.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Did you just sell him the shirt?
No, I didn't. No. In fact, I think I might have gone into the club just to rub it in a bit. I don't know.
Just
It's
to
such
rub
an
it in.
asshole move. I don't know why I did that, but yeah.
That's very funny.
Oh,
That's very
and the
funny.
irony is, I wouldn't have that shirt now. So how important was it? But
Yeah,
at
that's
the
right.
time, I was like, I'm gonna die for this thing. So anyway,
Hey, over the last week, we popped something in. We spoke about it actually last week, which stemmed something that we put into the Facebook group this week was first date stories. I shared a story last week about a friend who we shall call Caroline, about her horrible dating story.
oh god, yeah.
It wasn't kind of her, but it was the couple next to her and the way that the man was eating oysters.
Yeah.
And I got a few messages about that, and I was like, I can't tell you. It was a girl that I went to uni with, and a
Right.
few people from uni messaged me saying, "Is it this person? Is it that person?" I said, I don't want to tell you. I don't know why she's so like embarrassed because it didn't happen to her, but
Right.
I was like, she didn't want me to give out the identity, so I didn't give out the identity. But a couple of people messaged me about that story, which got us thinking about like horrible, like disaster dating stories, and we did have a few in the Facebook group, and I think a few people who commented are friends of yours.
Yeah, I reckon. So Erin, I know from radio actually. So and then another friend of mine has commented as well. In fact, yeah, I know all these people. Wow, I'm just reading some of these now. Do you want to go through them now? Is that
Let's go through some of them now because I haven't read them. I've purposely stayed
good.
off the Facebook group so that I haven't read them because I want to soak these in the
Yes.
first time as you soaked in my story last week.
Yep, great. Okay. Let me just get these up. All right, so the first one is from Erin, who is a Queensland listener of ours. I invited an extremely handsome man with a mullet back to my place for more drinks after a, inverted commas, friendly catch-up rather than a date, as we knew each other from school. We sat on the front porch and I went inside to grab another drink and came back out, sat next to him and was swallowed by an atomic fart. Right?
Swallowed?
I mean, vivid imagery.
Engulfed. Yeah, engulfed.
Yeah, you're
by
right.
the atomic
No,
fart?
she didn't say she swallowed it. She said she was swallowed by the fart. You're right.
Yeah, so it was like a bubble that just went. Whoop.
Which, some of those farts are out there, to be fair to her.
Yeah.
Cue very awkward silence as I sat and marinated in it. Because it was all going so well.
Like a barbecue rub.
She said, but it was all going so well, so I didn't want to embarrass him. And he was clearly dying on the inside in more ways than one, apparently, she says. Dying on the outside now. We have now been in a relationship for over 3 years, have 2 beautiful boys together, and I've never been happier. It was worth it. Wow.
I wonder how much of a fart those kids are. Is it genetic?
Yeah. Well, and surely she's got him back at one point. You know what I mean?
I mean, he would have had to. I mean, did she say that was the first date? Or just one of the catch-ups?
No, it was essentially the first date because it was like a friendly catch-up because they knew each other from school.
He would have had to do some serious groundwork, like some serious, repairing of groundwork after that first interaction.
Every night, I'm guessing, she just grabs his head, shoves it under the covers, and just gets him, what is it, a Dutch oven, and just goes,
a Dutch oven.
You know that you're going to have this forever, mate. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You are lucky to be here.
This is what you signed up for.
Yeah. This was your love language, according to you, mate. Fine.
Yeah.
So,
does he still have the mullet, I wonder? That was an interesting choice.
Well, she said an extremely handsome man with a mullet. Now, I know Erin. So, Erin's in her 30s, I think. So, has he retained the mullet? I mean, I told you, one of my uncles has retained the mullet into his 60s. I generally do not like a mullet, but I think I'm thinking of the footy player mullet. Those ones are just like rats type.
I think it depends. I would agree with you. I also think it depends on the person whether they can pull off a mullet or not.
Exactly.
I thought there was a brief moment there where I was like, you know what, I might try a mullet. Then I looked at myself in the mirror, naked, and I went, Josh, you cannot pull off a mullet.
Certainly
I went,
not
You're
naked.
right, Josh.
Yeah.
Not naked.
Yeah.
And the mullet wasn't even going on my head; it was going somewhere else.
Yeah,
so
you don't
it
want
was
that sort of mullet.
I don't want that type of mullet anyway.
Well, I think I'm the same as you. I think I couldn't do a mullet, but my uncle, for example, he pulls it off. He's the one that gives me hope. I'm like, wow, like I couldn't imagine him without a mullet now. And I haven't met Erin's partner, but I know Erin, and she's a classy lady. So I feel like he's got it. If he's still got it, it'll be a classy looking mullet. It won't be just like this out of control thing.
And you know what? Some people may grow into it with age.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm just reading what she said here. She said, I swear he's never let one go that bad since. Right, so it's not like it's a character trait. Yeah,
Could be a nervous fart, maybe.
Could be, yeah. Amazing, though. All right, you ready for Jane's?
Yeah. Thanks, Erin. Let's go to
Thank you,
James.
Erin. Jane is one of my best mates, so I'm very excited to read this. When I was at uni, I went on a first date with a guy who had told me that he, quote, had a nice restaurant in mind to go to, that it was his favourite restaurant.
Oh, God.
He wouldn't tell me where we were going as it was a surprise and kept hyping the place up, which already, I mean, you're in desperate
So many red
waters.
flags.
You're like, nah, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
Like, how bad's the date going that you have to keep referencing where
I
we're
know.
going?
Well, they've run out of things to talk about already.
Already.
Then there's a silence. He goes,
How about
"You're
that-
gonna love it. You just love it."
How about that restaurant we're going to?
Yeah.
He wouldn't tell me where we were going. Well, there's a red flag.
Oh,
Where are we going? I just want to tell my parents. Nah, don't worry about it. Turn your phone off.
Don't worry about it.
As it was a surprise and kept hyping the place up. He picks me up for the date. I'm eagerly waiting to see where we are going, and he drives me to Nando's.
Oh my God! I was literally thinking to myself as you were telling that story. I was like, God, I hope it's not Nando's.
Yep.
I hope it's not Macca's or Nando's.
Yeah,
And
Macca's was the one running through my mind, but yeah, Nando's is up there with it.
Oh man.
Now,
Does he think that's
oh, I know.
people who think, there's not many of them, but people who think that Macca's or KFC or Nando's are date worthy. When you're in a relationship for, a few.
Right. For a meal.
Absolutely. For a meal, absolutely.
Not for a date, though. But
Not
also
for a date.
And this is not about, it's not about money. Because if you think about it, if you've got the choice between something like Macca's and going to a park and having a picnic that costs half the amount of money as Nando's, the park is the better date, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
She goes, safe to say I didn't go on any more dates with him. Now, pleased to report I was at Jane's wedding, so she has found someone who thinks that she deserves more than Nando's. So,
Was the catering at the wedding Nando's?
it was, looking back on it, and I didn't get it at the time, but
Peri peri chicken.
peri
Love
peri chicken. And just Jane kept looking at me going, you'll get this one day.
it. You'll get it.
Yeah.
I'll share the story with you. Oh, fantastic.
Amazing. All right, I'd glanced those two, but I haven't read this third one at all.
Okay.
This is from Harley. I was on a nice little date around the lake. It was all going well until right at the end, some old bloke came up and started giving us the third degree about relationships, marriage, and if we were religious. I was trying to be polite about it, but I really wanted to tell him where to shove it. Needless to say, the vibe was ruined after that, and we both headed off separately. Oh, no, Harley.
Oh, this old guy's ruined it for him.
Oh, that annoys me. How's the unsolicited, let me give you my thoughts on marriage? Who are
Why
you?
do people do that? Why?
God.
It happens at not to the same degree, but it does sometimes happen with me when I've got when I'm taking my 3-year-old out. I'll get stopped by old people. They're usually 80 plus,
Right.
And they'll stop me and go, "Oh, she's so gorgeous." I go, "Yeah, she's very cute, very cute." And then they will just proceed. And look, I don't want to seem like I'm complaining here,
Right.
because it's lovely. But they go on for 15 minutes about how their boys, oh, they were so beautiful, they grew up so quickly. I'm like, yes, she's growing up quickly right in front of my eyes while I'm stuck here talking to you, all right?
Right, yeah.
I very much appreciate, and they just kind of, I guess the word to call it's waffle. They just waffle a little bit.
Yeah, but also you're being quite nice in that situation. You're not going whoop up 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 up, shut it down.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. Like
Yes.
you are sitting through that and talking to them. But I guess for that to be even as bad as this, it's like if during that chat they start telling you how you should parent Esther.
Yes.
That would be
Yeah.
the equivalent.
And then when they leave, Esther goes, "I think we're done here.
separate ways.
I think I'll find someone else.
I'll go somewhere else. Yeah,
I think I'll find someone else to father me."
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. If you couldn't handle yourself in that situation, you're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. No, that is the equivalent.
Yeah.
But that could have been a forever love, an everlasting love.
Oh, I know.
And they were never given the shot because some old codger came in and planned their future for them before they even knew each other's names.
I know, because it's like I love having nice random moments with it doesn't have to be elderly people, just people down the street. It's just nice, especially in the digital age. It's nice to talk to other people, but it's the switching into mode of advice mode.
Yes.
That's when you start going are you not aware of this situation?
Yes.
You are not the third person on this date.
I have, ever since becoming a parent, I have not, and I've had friends become parents since I've become a parent.
Right.
And there have been opportunities for me to give advice. I have not given a single piece of advice to anyone because I feel as though, I'm no expert. There's billions of parents in the world. I'm just another one.
Right.
But also, every child is so different.
Right.
What works for my kid is not going to work for your kid.
Yeah.
And also, if I were to receive advice from a parent who's been a parent for 3 years, I'd go, mate, just back off. All right. If I get Nancy from down the street who's mothered 36 children during World War II and she's got 48 grandchildren, I'll go. Have you got any advice?
Let's
for
listen
me?
to what
'Cause you've
Nancy's
been
got
through
to say.
Let's see what Nancy's got to say. She's been through the ringer, and I want to know what she has to say because all of her kids are great or whatever. So, but 3 years, I think at the 10-year mark, I think that's when I'll be valid for advice giving. But at the moment, I don't give a crap.
No, I think you're right, because it's if I'd been driving a car for 3 years and I started telling someone how to drive a car, they'd be like, I'd rather speak to the person who's done it for 10 years. And it's also
Yeah.
like, it's the unsolicited thing, right? So it's like, if at the 10-year mark, someone asks you for specific advice on parenting, that's different to you just walking up to me, putting your arm around my shoulder and going, let me tell you what, 5 things that you need to know. You're like, what?
Let me tell you 5 things that you need to know about having a daughter.
Yeah.
Like I have a son, so back off, all right?
Yeah, you're not listening to me at all. Yeah, poor old Harley. Have you had shockers, or have you managed to avoid the sometimes brutal world that is first dates?
I have not had that many bad first dates.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. I've gone for safe options.
Sure.
You know, my first girlfriend and I.
Shout out to Eden.
Shout out, yeah. Yeah,
I've got for
shout out
safe options.
I've got not in women, but in dates.
Right, yeah, sorry, gotcha.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it did sound a bit off, and that's what we've picked up on.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No.
In the date, for the actual date,
Right.
I've usually gone for a safe option for the first one because, you know, I don't want to go, too crazy straight off the bat. But my first girlfriend, she worked at the cinema.
Lovely.
And we would go. Our first date was at the cinema. I said to her, I was like, "Do you really want to go like where you work? Like, I don't want you to go back to, I don't want you to go somewhere for leisure.
It's a
somewhere where you
busman's
gotta
holiday.
work."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, "Oh no, it's fine. So we went and watched a movie, and then went and had some dinner afterwards. So that was my first date.
Right.
And that went well. Her mum picked her up afterwards, and I went. I was driving at the time, so I drove home. I did, before you say anything, I did offer to drive her home.
Right.
But she wanted to go with her mum, which is fine. That's fine.
It sounds fun that you've held onto it for all these years.
You know what? Let me tell you about that bitch.
Yeah. Let me get this out.
What about you?
Well, my very first date was also at the movies. But I was thinking about it because I knew we were going to be talking about this. Looking back on it, it was a great first date. But it must have been my idea to pick this movie. I want you to picture, it's 2011.
What movie?
Just thinking about the movies that were coming out in 2011. It's my very first date with this girl. And I took her to see 127 Hours. Which,
God.
if you don't know the movie, is a
God.
guy who gets his arm wedged between 2 rocks and he has to cut it off with a Swiss Army knife. And most of the movie is him painstakingly by himself sawing through the muscle and bone that is his arm and then walking through the wilderness hoping to find other campers until he bleeds to death.
Yeah, it's not really a turn on that one, is it?
No. And looking back on it, you're like, good God. I don't know.
Did you choose that movie?
I must have chosen that movie. I must have. Oh, it must have. I ended up dating her for about a year, so clearly it wasn't so bad that.
Yeah, well, she was
Against all odds.
into the eclectic pick, I reckon. For that one.
She's probably a surgical nurse or something right now. She's like, I love it.
127 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, not a great first date movie.
No,
I think animated. You're pretty safe with animated. Romantic comedies, stereotypical, but pretty safe.
Yeah, you are. I actually, it wasn't a first date, but I went on just a normal, date night date with Ames a couple of years ago, and my sister was working at the movies. And it was 2021, so it was like the lockdowns weren't as frequent and intense, but we were sort of like, we're in one, then we're out of one or whatever.
Yeah.
And we'd clearly come out of one, and there wasn't a great offering of movies going on. And we picked this movie called How to Please a Woman, which, if you haven't seen it, is actually a good movie. But just picture the joy that I get because my sister worked at the ticket part of the movies. And so I just waited until there was a bit of a crowd. There was no one serving. The person next to her wasn't serving anyone. So there's enough people around to hear this. And I just go up and I say to my sister, "Hi, I'd like to please a woman. Do you have any movie recommendations for that?" And you can just see her die inside.
Yeah.
And then she has to go, I guess How to Please a Woman would be a great movie. You go, great.
Well, you've basically said what movie you want to go and see, so I guess we'll give you that one.
Let me reword what you've just said.
Yeah.
I remember, do you remember like when you were like, I don't know if you did this, but like, well, actually, I went to an all-boys school, and so we didn't interact with girls as much as the other schools, right? And so even to be able to go to the movies with a group of girls from the girls' school was like a big thing when you were like year 10 or whatever, right? As I was saying it, I realized how sad it was. But that laugh is Josh revealing to me that he did not go to an all-boys school.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I remember like a group of like say 5 blokes would go with a group of 5 girls, and we all went, and it's like, it's not a date because there's just so many of you, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's vaguely in the romance field. Again, blokes must have picked the movie. We went and saw Russell Crowe's Robin Hood, and I just,
Why did we do that?
I don't know.
Why do we always think about ourselves? We never think about the company that we keep.
and we still don't learn. Even to this day, I will 50% of the time when Ames says, "What movie do you want to watch?" I keep pitching to her this movie called The Gentleman, which is just the most testosterone-fueled, violent movie. And Ames is like, what makes you think I want to watch this? I'm like, no, just give it a go. Like, you'll love it. As if she will. She'll hate it. But I just remember, like, even watching Robin Hood, like, at the time, we were all sitting down to watch it at the movies, and I remember one of the girls just going, I'm going to be so bored during this movie. Like, out loud. And even as, like, a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, I remember thinking, like, how dare you? Like, this is... This is
How
Russell
dare
Crowe.
you judge a movie?
This is going to be the best experience of your life. And obviously she would have hated it. Like, it's just, we have no idea, clearly.
I have a similar thing. I'm as you're talking, I'm realizing that I do the exact same thing when we're at home, because Eden and I are a big streaming family. We'll once we put the daughter to bed, we'll sit down and watch a movie.
Right.
And when we are thinking about what movie we're going to watch, I will be like, let's watch like Mad Max Fury Road, you know? And she's like, I've really been wanting to like get into Bridgerton. And I'm like, it's
crap. It's all the same.
You can watch that when I'm not around, you know? And then Eden, gives in, and we watch Mad Max Fury Road. And I'm like, this is great, isn't it? And she's like scrolling on her phone. I'm like, look at the explosions.
I know. And this is where women are too good for us in general. Like they'll do it. Like
yeah.
Like, unbelievable.
They will just waste, in their eyes, they're wasting 2.5 hours of their life just to appease us.
Which adds up to just years of their life. Yeah. Just like, I didn't want to watch that, but I guess I'll watch it.
We are the gorilla and they are the keeper that just kind of keep us happy.
I don't really want to fling this shit at the wall, but it makes him happy, so let's do
exactly.
it.
I'll play along. Pop a squat. Here we go.
The only other... It's not even... It's like so many steps before a first date, but it's just so bizarre that I have to tell you. When I was 21, I went backpacking through Europe, like by myself.
Yes.
And so I got...
that would have been fun.
It was fun. And I got a ferry from France across to England, right? And the thing was like... Maybe the internet, it just wasn't as advanced, but I guess we just weren't using it as much. So, like, you would book, like, a room in a pub or a youth hostel or whatever for accommodation, but you didn't have a great idea of what it was really going to be like.
Yeah.
And I booked a room above a pub for when I first got to England that was just, like, that coastal town that the barge pulls into. You know what I mean? Just like, I'll just stay here, sort myself out.
Yep.
It's, like, shared accommodation. Like, there's, like, 10 bunks in this room. Mixed gender, but 2 people. I'm one, and there's another girl who's the other person staying. She's Australian, right? So when you
Sounds like a romantic comedy.
Well, you've got to understand. So I'm single at the time. How, like, I'm the biggest, like, picture the worst loser you've seen in a romantic comedy in terms of, like, desperate for love. That's me. Do you know what I mean? Like... I'm every character in Love, actually. I'm just like, that's me. So, like, it's like I see a woman, I'm like, I'm in love. Like, that's it.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
Right. So that's me at 21. And so we're chatting with this girl, and, because we're Australians overseas, like, you hit it off a bit. She mentioned, I'm just going to give you can just pick the red flags as you go along. She mentioned that she was traveling solo because she was meant to go with her sister, but her sister, just before they flew out from Australia, had a vision that she was in fact Jesus. And so she had decided not to get on the flight. So like her sister is clearly like,
So her sister thought she was Jesus.
Sorry, her sister thought that she was Jesus. Yeah.
Right.
And so Jesus' sister has decided, I'm not.
Why would you fly on a plane when you can walk on water?
She's like, it's going to take me longer, but if you could, you would. I'll catch up with you in a few months.
Get some fish on the way.
Yeah. I'll feed 5,000 by the end of this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, then she mentions that for work, she is like an escort type thing. Which I guess even at 21, I was probably so naive. I probably didn't even really have a concept of what that probably fully meant. In fact, I think, I don't know why I say this as if Josh is going to know this lady, but I think she was from, no, she wasn't from Coffs Harbour. What's the other one I'm trying to think of?
Port Macquarie?
Byron
Bay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another
That's probably where it's at.
Yeah.
That's probably where it's at.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're like, oh, maybe we should go down and have a drink or whatever, because we're just sitting in this bunk bed thing chatting.
Yeah.
I haven't taken any cash out because I'm in a new country and they didn't have an ATM or something. So now as the night progresses, she's paying for all my drinks, right?
How polite.
And then she says, I've got this car and I'm going to travel up and down England and I'm big on vibes. I think I'm vibing that you should come with me and travel with me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember the thing I've said about me being a Love Actually boy? So I go, yes, I would love to do that. Now, I noticed the car the next day, by the way. Picture, if people have seen Austin Powers, it was that car. It was genuinely like a mini car with the Union Jack painted over it. Like it sounds like a made up world that I'm telling you about. It's real.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, so I've now committed to cancelling the rest of my trip and just driving with this woman for weeks.
You are dedicated to this woman.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, there's only like 6 other people in this pub because it's just like, it's one of those towns where it's like, it's just died as a town.
Yeah.
Like people clearly just, they land in Dover and they just move on.
Yeah.
Certainly in this pub. And there's only one other guy. There's one guy in there who's on his 3rd day of a bender, which makes you realize how much the British drink compared to us. Like he has not stopped drinking for 3 days. Like he hasn't slept. Like he's just like,
yeah.
Anyway, there's only one other young guy in the pub. And you think, all right, yeah, he's a bit better looking than me probably, but I have committed to traveling with this woman for
You've got the vibes.
Weeks. Yeah, I've got the vibes. The next thing I remember is lying in bed up in the bunks, pretending to be asleep while those two have sex in the bed next to me. And then they clearly realized that I was not asleep and they went down to the car and finished the act there. Next morning, I got up, I picked up my bag and I ran to the train station and I've never looked back.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I wonder if he went traveling around. Was this the drunk guy that she ended up having sex with, or some other guy?
No, it was just all it took was one other young person to be in the pub, and she was like, "That'll do."
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever tried to pretend to be asleep when people are having sex around you, but it is not a fun time.
You can't. How can you fall asleep? You can't possibly fall asleep.
Oh.
Wow, that's a really sad story, man. I'm sorry that happened to you.
I'm sorry, I don't want to end on a downer like that. I thought it was going to be... It's like one of those things where, like, as you start telling the story, you're like, oh, this is the saddest thing I've ever done.
No, but you've moved on. You've found true love. You're engaged. You've got a whole life and future. screw that girl in the hostel. She's probably still
Well, I
doing those
didn't.
same things. No, well, that's true.
The young miner did, or whatever.
That's true. That's true. Some young miner. Yeah, look, you've got your whole future ahead of you. Who knows?
Thanks, man.
knows
This
what
felt like it turned into therapy towards the end, where I'm just
Nah, it's all right. I'm here for you. This is what we said the podcast would be. It could turn into a bit of a therapy session.
It could do. I mean, the point is, like, we're there for you if you're in that process, because you would have a few mates like this, and I do, where you're still in that first dates sort of, realm. We've been in the trenches. We understand, and I don't want to turn in that person now that we've talked about that is now starting to give advice.
Yeah.
I'm backing off.
No advice. This is not an advice podcast.
Especially, I don't know how you feel about Eden, but it's like when I look at Amy, I go, if I had to give someone advice for how to end up with someone like Amy, I'd be like, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know how I've done it.
It's just, yeah, I've got no idea.
Yeah.
I've got no idea I don't know how I pulled it off.
Yeah.
I've got no idea.
You heard the story of me in the pub in Dover. Like, like how I've ended up here is a miracle.
And you know what? Let's really end on a sad note, because before Eden, every girl that I've had like a mate, like a crush on, or I've really liked that I haven't dated. It's just it's been looking from afar and being like, oh, that imagining your life together and imagining how amazing you would treat her.
Yep.
They have never been interested in me.
No.
They're always way out of my league.
In your mind, every time you have a conversation, you're talking to your future wife, and they are not thinking that. They are.
No. They're thinking, ew, gross. Get away from me, sweaty man.
Why is this guy talking to me? I don't even know his name.
Yeah. Anyway, look, we're ending on a somewhat of a sad note.
No, we're not. We're not. First date, you'll get funny stories out of them. That's the real point. It'll either work or you'll get a funny story out of it. You can't lose.
That's right. And on that note, we are going to end the podcast. Thank you very much for listening again to episode 6. We will see you next week. If you haven't already, make sure you are in the Facebook group, the Josh and Joe Show podcast Facebook group. Find it and be a part of it. Have your say, and hopefully you might get on the show. Joe, any parting words for the listeners?
Be safe out there, kids. Avoid people who think they've recently become Jesus, and avoid that pub in Dover. See you next time.
And love will find you when you least expect it.
Or it won't. But yeah, love will find you.
All right. On that note, bye-bye, everyone.